What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another edition of the Blue Review. I am Greg Bergman at Bergman Greg on Twitter and on Instagram. And next to me is Daniel Starkand from Dodger Blue 1958 or DodgerBlue.com, the number one most read Dodger site on the internet. Number one total. So you can find him at dstarkand at any time. And we're going to start off today by talking about probably the biggest thing that happened over the week that I was most upset about, to be honest with you.
Same.
The one guy that I wanted out of all the three big names, it was Strasburg, Cole, and Rendon. I wanted Rendon.
Yeah.
I didn't want anybody else. I didn't care about the money that you were going to give to Cole. I didn't care about what you're going to give to Strasburg. Too many years, that whole deal. I'm upset they didn't get Rendon until he said stuff.
That Hollywood lifestyle.
That Hollywood lifestyle. Get out of here with that Hollywood lifestyle.
But,
We'll talk about that in a second.
Yeah, but I definitely agree with you. From pretty much from the beginning of the offseason, it seemed like a foregone conclusion that Strasburg was going back to the Nats. Cole, the Yankees were not getting outbid for Cole. So it always seemed like Rendon was going to be the guy. The Dodgers talked all that talk about how Justin Turner's willing to move to first base. Dave Roberts saying how they're more aggressive this year. There's going to be more roster turnover than any year that he's been here. And then when it came time, they didn't even make an offer.
Yeah, didn't even make an offer, which I get. Like, he's sitting there, he's saying, I don't want that Hollywood lifestyle, and he wants to be in Orange County where, reasons. I mean, look, he's made it very clear that he is a specific type of guy that likes to wear red hats, where I like to wear blue hats.
Yeah.
Whatever you want to take with that, you can. Whatever he decides is his deal. One says MAGA, the other doesn't. I don't know what you want to say about it.
Texas,
he is from Texas, and that's fine. Look, I get it. But at the same time, I'm glad that they didn't, because after all of that, and he doesn't want to be here, then I don't want you.
Yeah, we don't need anyone that doesn't want to be here. And the Hollywood lifestyle reasoning or whatever just seemed like such a cop-out to me.
Of course
Like,
it is.
I mean, whatever.
Yeah. I mean, he's gone now, which
Yeah.
sucks. I mean, I like the idea. You were right. JT was willing to move over to first base. Rendon was, to me, the perfect fit.
Yeah.
He fit perfectly right into the middle of this lineup. He would have been a great third baseman for years. And that, you have that stabilizing piece in the middle of the lineup. If Bellinger isn't playing well, then Rendon would have been, the guy that just kind of comes through in the postseason, because he did.
And he fits well with the Dodgers' philosophy too. He likes taking pitches, working counts.
Yes.
So yeah, it did seem like a perfect fit, but he's in Anaheim now. So.
He is in Anaheim, and this just makes it more so not Los Angeles, just because of all this thing on the Hollywood lifestyle.
Yeah, exactly.
This just makes it more so him.
He technically signed with a team that thinks they play in Los Angeles.
Right, and he's not actually in Los Angeles, and so that's a whole thing. But great, look, if you're not going to be here, you're like Kawhi Leonard to me now. You're on that other team that you mean nothing to me.
That's a good comparison.
Nothing. You don't mean anything to me anymore, and now you're going to go live in anonymity in Anaheim, where nobody does anything and nobody cares about anything, and they don't make the playoffs even if they have the talent that they do. You would think they would. They still just don't have pitching.
Yeah, that's why I was a little surprised that they kind of went all in for Rendon, but I guess that their first priority was Garrett Cole, so once they didn't get him, they kind of pivoted, but they still need a ton of pitching before we could even talk about them as any sort of contenders.
Right, exactly, because they've already shown that they can hit. They've been able to hit for years, and they still haven't made it in because the other teams hit, and that's just how that goes. And the other thing that kind of happened as well is this is a little bit different, and it's something that I saw today, and I thought was kind of weird, and I know you saw it a little bit too, was this this whole Max Muncy thing.
Yeah.
Where, I get it. I get it. If I don't want anybody sending things to my house, especially when I didn't put my name, my address out there, which you're not getting either. But either way, I get it. Max Muncy. So the idea was that there was an Instagram post from Max Muncy, and he said he showed a picture of his stairs, and there's a whole bunch of letters and packages and all this stuff from fans asking for his autograph. Okay, I get it. You got fans and autographs, and you wanted all that stuff, but he didn't put his address out there.
No, I don't know who did, but typically if you have those autograph requests or whatever, you just send it to the stadium and then they go from there. But the fact that his home address is out there and he's getting, hundreds of pieces of mail, like what is he gonna do with that? You know, so it's an invasion of privacy, and if I was him, I'd be just as mad.
Yeah, I mean, you saw the picture. There was a ton.
Yeah, there's a lot.
And look, I get it. Like, maybe he can sit down, he can read through every one, and he can sign an autograph and send them all out, and that would be like the really cool thing to do. But at the same time, none of it was ever supposed to get there. And now, because of that, even if he wasn't moving, I think he was saying he was only going to be for a short time.
Yeah.
You got to move now.
Yeah.
Now people know where you live.
Yeah.
Like today.
Yeah, exactly. All that fan mail is harmless, but when your address is just out there, who knows what could happen.
People are crazy.
There's angry Giants fans out there.
Look, I know you've done this on Twitter before. You've talked to someone that's nuts, and like, do you want that person just showing up at your house?
Yeah, no.
Probably not.
No.
So no. And I guess what most people want to talk about though is this whole like, what is going to happen? What are the Dodgers actually going to do? And you can see some of the stuff in here. And by the way, here you go. This one's for you, Daniel. This is from Dan Preciado. Saying,
that's a friend of mine.
He says Daniel's kind of cute. The second best Daniel though. So
definitely second best.
Yeah, second. So thanks for jumping in, Dan. And let's see. Taylor Spencer says we should go get Dylan Betances and maybe Will Harris.
I mean, I'd be in favor of Betances if it's a similar deal to the one they did with Blake Trinan. There's not much risk with a 1-year deal.
Right.
He's coming off a significant injury that pretty much kept him out all of last season. So he's not, it's not going to be a multi-year expensive type of deal. So I would definitely be in favor of that. I think Will Harris is probably going to get a multi-year deal. He just had a good year with the Astros.
Yep.
So you could probably count him out.
Probably. And that's the whole thing. And I think I do this every single week, and I know I say it every single week, but if you go get bullpen, fine. You want to give me 1-year deals?
Yeah.
Fine. Go ahead. Have at it, because bullpen from 1 year to the next is just a complete and utter crapshoot. So if you give me 1-year deals, fine. But guys like this, like Taylor Spencer saying Josh Hader, that's a lot of money, and he was bad down the stretch, and he lost it.
Yeah, and he would take a lot of. Obviously, Milwaukee doesn't have to deal him, so they would have to be overwhelmed with a trade offer. And I think if you're willing to give up, Lux and those guys, I think there's other options that would be better, in my opinion, than Hader. If you're giving up the farm like that.
Right, because there's so many guys, so many offensive guys, and I guess it's offensive position players that need to be paid. Yeah. Cody Bellinger is going to need to be paid. You gotta have, like, even if you keep Seager, he has to be paid. Walker Buehler's eventually going to need to be paid. There's a lot of guys on this team that are young and are at that point to where they're just, okay, are we paying him, letting him go? What's the deal? Are we trading? So if you're going to put money into a bullpen, which could completely blow up in your face with it right in the beginning, I'm not for it. I'm totally against this. Yeah. Where was this? I saw one. Kenneth Garibay says, what you guys think they're going to do, if anything at all? And then Chris Mac and Cheese. That's what it says, a.k.a. Mac and Cheese. Yeah, exactly. I'm not that guy to read that. It says Lindor and Clevenger. I think that's the idea.
I'd say that's, the best thing they could do at this point, considering they didn't sign Rendon or Cole. If you want to add that, top of the rotation starter, and that, impact back, which the Dodgers said they want to do. They said it, if we're making any acquisitions, it's going to be, top of the roster guys. They're not really looking for the middle tier guys. Right. But obviously, I don't know, especially now that they traded Kluber, I don't know how motivated the Indians are to deal Lindor and Clevenger, and I don't know if Andrew Friedman is willing to give up what it would take to get those guys.
So I think that's where we should go then. Like, what is... I mean, I'm not great at this game of let's put this guy with this guy and he's going to be good. But from Jim Bowden, who is a big-time name, who was a manager for a little while and now is on Sirius XM.
He's a GM,
he was a GM. Yeah. Sorry, yeah. But he's on Sirius XM. And he put out that it was going to cost, just for Lindor, it was going to be Lux, Stripling, and Jock. I would do that in a heartbeat.
Yeah. On paper, that sounds great. I don't think the Indians would do that. Right. I don't know. If the Indians are trying to save money, I don't think trading for Jock, who is in the last year of his contract and probably going to make like around $10 million in arbitration this year. I don't know how, what use they have for Jock necessarily if they're trying to save money. And also, I don't know if Stripling's value is as high as some people make it out to be. He's a fine pitcher. His stats aren't bad. Yeah. But I don't know. I don't know if the Indians are looking for that kind of package if they're dealing, the best player on their team.
Right, and if you're gonna move Lindor, and also Clevenger's under control too, right?
Yeah,
both are under control.
He's in his first year of arbitration, so he has like 4 years left.
Right, so if you're gonna make these moves, you have to get controllable assets back that are gonna be like Lux would be a guy that's controllable. Jock is not controllable.
Right.
So you're bringing him in, but then I guess it's a way to get rid of some payroll because you
but Lindor's gonna make like 18 million this year, and Jock's gonna make like 10 million. So you're not saving a whole lot.
No, but then you let him go where you don't have to re-sign Lindor. Yeah. So that's another. And also, like Gavin Lux is very, very much in. He's not even arbitration eligible yet.
No.
So he's still got 7
cheap,
years on him. Because he's a rookie coming up. Yeah. And then the same thing with Stripling is still controllable. So you're it all kind of works for them, why would make sense. But if you're going to add Clevenger into that then you need to put a bigger package together.
Then you need to start talking about, Dustin May,
Tony Gonsolin,
Keibert Ruiz, Josiah Gray, those type of guys. And, I mean, if you're getting Lindor and Clevenger, it could be worth it, but there's got to be a point where you can't just give up every single guy. But
no, and I think this is why Dodger fans are really annoyed and upset right now, because look, we're in the middle of December right now. There's still plenty of time for them to do something. Whether they do or not is a whole nother topic of discussion. But if they do, they have plenty. They're at a point where, look, this team is kind of in a spot where they made themselves into the top 5 farm system in baseball. They're a top 5 team in baseball year in and year out in the major league. So your major and minor leagues are both completely set. Plus you have money to spend. So and you're below the luxury tax, so you don't have to do the repeater tax or anything like that. So now is that time. If they're going to do something, now is that time. We're at a point where you've seen how far this team can kind of go. Whether it's from cheating that stopped them or whatever it was, they still were not. They're still at a point where they can start doing things, and now is that time. So I get it why Dodger fans are upset because
I agree 100%.
You wanted Cole, you wanted Rendon, you wanted Strasburg. None of them came. You can still make this move for Lindor, but again, it doesn't look like that's going to happen. So you can't be upset there. And it takes 2 teams. You can't just be like, oh, they didn't give them enough. Well, then you got to give everything, and that's kind of crazy. I don't know what's happening with Boston. I feel like Mookie Betts.
Yeah, Mookie Betts. I mean, he's in the last year of his deal, so I don't think it would take as much necessarily to get him as Lindor, but I also don't know if Boston's really looking to move him. They could, they're trying to save money as well, but they could trade like David Price or a couple of their other guys, and they don't have to trade, the face of their franchise. So
right.
And another option is Chris Bryant as well. They're waiting to see how his grievance or whatever goes.
I mean, what do you think of Chris Bryant? Because from what he's a great player.
Yeah, he's a good player. Great player. Yeah, he has. I mean, yeah, I think he's the. He was thought of as the next best thing at one point. He came in and was Rookie of the Year, then MVP. So I don't think he's quite on that level anymore. But he's still
it's so quick for them to fall that far that he's not. He's 27 years old. I mean, he had a
pretty good year. He's still a good player. He could play third base, a little outfield if you need him to. But I don't know if the Cubs are going to want to do a deal with the Dodgers, especially if they're still trying to compete in the near future.
Of course, why would you make a deal with the Dodgers? But this is when they did this whole thing with Chris Bryant, who also, by the way, is a Scott Boras client. Which, just so we're clear, there are 3 guys that are Dodgers that are Scott Boras clients. If I have that right, I think it's Cody Bellinger, Corey Seager, and Julio Urias, and those are your 3 Dodger Scott Boras clients. They're all going to get paid eventually. And Chris Bryant is another one of those guys. I mean, if you think that Scott Boras is going to say, "Oh yeah, well, let's just give him up for nothing," like that's not going to happen.
No.
And he's a controllable asset too right now. He's only in his 2nd year of arbitration.
Yeah.
He's got plenty of, but again, I'm looking at his stats right now. He had 30 home runs and 100 RBIs. If you put that into your lineup, that's great. And at a 280 batting average, I'll do that. I'll take that. But the fact of the matter is that he came in and they made it so that his time got pushed back because they waited 1 day.
It's that stupid rule where if you keep him in the minors for the first week or whatever, then you get a whole extra year of control.
Yeah,
and that's why they got that grievance going on or whatever.
Of course.
So they're just kind of in wait and see mode. But I mean, there's definitely options out there for the Dodgers.
Plenty.
But with that being said, they could go into the season right now with the team they have, and they'll probably win their division by 15 games.
Absolutely.
So I don't know if they're in a huge rush to make moves. You could always make trades throughout the season if you could address your needs and see what you need. Because right now they have a lot of young guys who may or may not make a big impact this year.
Right.
So another option is waiting to the deadline, because then you could see if Dustin May and Tony Gonsolin are the starters that you're hoping they're going to be, if Gavin Lux is a true everyday player already.
Yep.
So I don't know if they're in a huge rush to make that big move, but there definitely is options out there.
Right. Like, so that's a good way to kind of put it too, is that they don't have to make a move if they don't want to. And they're going to win this division. They're going to get back to the playoffs, and it's going to be basically the same team we've seen the last couple of years. And you're going to see them fall apart in the playoffs. Is what the worry is.
Yeah.
I would assume last year was just that kind of seemed like that perfect year where everything kind of came together, where they were being patient at the plate for the most part. They were hitting in with runners in scoring position. They were doing all the little, they were not just swinging for the fences. They were hitting singles and doubles, and they were moving guys around, and everything was kind of going as you wanted it to go. And think, all right, this is the best team in baseball. They're playing like the best team in baseball, and then they go out in 5 games to the Nationals.
Well, yeah, that's the thing about the postseason is, you could be the best team all year, win 106 games, and you have one bad long weekend, and your season's over. So that's why they're looking to get the top end guys, just because those are the guys who you could expect to make an impact in October. As we saw last year, they got AJ Pollock and Joe Kelly instead of the top end guys, and that didn't exactly work out for them in the playoffs.
Right. No, it did not work. So, I mean, this is just one of those things. And here, this is my favorite thing, right? Shane Smith on Facebook says, some random guy on Twitter says, some random guy on Twitter. Whenever you started,
was it Arya Abraham?
It's like Arya Dodgerham or something like that, so he could be like a Dodger. But some random guy on Twitter says, a deal for Betts and Price is getting done soon. Would have Verdugo as a centerpiece. Who knows how legit it is?
Probably not legit.
Yeah. We can entertain it for a second if you'd like, but most likely not legit. Verdugo, I think, would have been a huge, huge help to this team in the playoffs last year, but he was injured. He was great while he was playing.
Yeah.
But if you're going to get me Betts, I move Verdugo.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. I mean, these are just obvious things.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to have to move someone. So if you're moving Verdugo, that means you're holding on to one of the other young guys who are supposed to be really good. So, I mean, it's just a give and take of who you value, who you think's going to be turn into that all-star player, and who you think is not. And I think Friedman's done really well with that in past trades, of not trading the guys that he thinks are going to be, the breakout guys.
Right.
Other than Yordan Alvarez, but
which was also just like they didn't know who he was. He was like low down, and all of a sudden he became a superstar, rookie of the year, crazily. But which would have been another Dodger rookie of the year. But either way, so when guys start talking about prospects and how let's just move this guy and this guy. They're prospects. They don't mean anything. But some of these big names are really good. We've talked about Lux and May and Ruiz and Gray and even Jeter Downs and Gonsolin, right? That's your top 6.
Yeah, and half of those guys we've already seen at the major league level, and we've seen that they're good. They're good. So it's not like you're trading a 19-year-old in Single A who you have no clue what he's going to be. Like, we saw Dustin May and Tony Gonsolin both pitch really well last year, and Gavin Lux had one of the best minor league seasons of all time.
Yeah, he was insane. So I get why they don't want to move them, but the guys that come up from the minors year in and year out are always guys like, who the hell is that?
Yeah.
And they just produce. Like Max Muncy, yes, I understand he was traded, but he was traded into the minor league system. He spent, I think, 100 games in minor league system with the Dodgers before he was brought up. And he was, if you knew who Max Muncy was before he came up and started mashing baseballs, you're lying, because you just didn't. Matt Beatty was not a guy I would have been like, oh yeah, we should bring Matt Beatty up.
Yeah.
That just happened.
Yeah.
So this happens every single year, and this is what Andrew Friedman kind of does. And I know it's kind of like a bad word right now. You say Andrew Friedman, people just go, how dare you?
Yeah.
But this is what happens. He understands his farm system. He understands who to move, who not to move, and what the right deal is to do. So, look, you're right. We have the team already. And if you go in right now, great. I get it, though. I want to see a change too, because I feel like they've gone kind of as far as they can.
No, yeah, it's completely understandable to wonder what the heck is going on this offseason, why they haven't made the big move. But I think before we completely, go full on picket fence protest outside of Dodger Stadium, I think we need to see how the rest of the offseason plays out, what, if any, moves, they make. Because I feel like they usually pull, Andrew Friedman usually pulls off one or two good deals every offseason that maybe at the time people are like, why are we trading Yasiel Puig to the Reds?
I like that move.
And then a few months, but like at the time, a lot of people were like, why? And then a few months later, everyone realized like, oh, he kind of knows what he's doing.
Yeah, it was always going to be the right move. Baldemar Labarin Valenzuela says, hello from Mexico. What's up, Mexico?
Hey.
Just we can wait for deadline. It is better. We have a great team already. So yeah, that's kind of what we're talking about. Yeah. They can wait for the deadline, but like you want to see in the offseason them do something.
Yeah, and they're still like 30-something million below the luxury tax. Right. So they're going to do something. They're not just going to let... I mean, they've never gone that far below the luxury tax. Usually if they're below the luxury tax, it's, a few million. So they're going to do something. They'll probably add some sort of pitcher. I don't know if it'll be Ryu or... I don't know
what they're going to do with Ryu.
Baumgartner's gone now, yeah. I mean, I feel like Ryu's price is kind of getting up there. I saw Ken Rosenthal tweeted that he's probably going to get 4 years, at least $20 million a year. And
that's a lot of money.
Yeah, I don't see the Dodgers matching that.
It's tough.
Yeah.
I don't know if you want to give 4 years to a pitcher that has been injury-prone for most of his career, and he's 32 already.
Yeah.
He was a great pitcher. He was Cy Young candidate. Should have won it, but whatever.
Yeah.
Choice Fielder says Betts might go if the other team in deal also takes Price. Red Sox looking to dump money. So
I mean, yeah, definitely if the Dodgers were willing to take on Price's full contract, which he has like 3 years and like $90 million left, which is kind of absurd.
That's Clayton Kershaw.
Yeah. Then I think the prospect, you wouldn't, obviously if you're willing to take that on with Betts, you wouldn't have to send back, the full package of prospects. That would take a little bit off. So that's an option. I doubt Friedman wants to take on Price's contract.
Yeah, I doubt it too. But I mean, they've done these types of things before. I mean, Andrew Friedman is kind of a master at doing these things.
He's traded Matt Kemp away twice.
And
traded
contract
for him. Yeah, so, right. I mean, you never know.
It's pretty amazing what he can do. He can manipulate money and he can manipulate teams into doing kind of what he wants.
Mm-hmm.
Old Ball Coach 1 says, we are so good and every fan wants to trade. We don't need to trade anyone. We're loaded.
The fans want big names, and it's understandable. I mean, at some point when you lose in the playoffs every year and you haven't won a World Series in, what is it now? 32 years or something. Yeah, people are going to get restless.
Of course.
So
it's rare.
Understandable.
I think we need to also understand, and it's very hard for me even to say it, but it's true. The playoffs are just a crapshoot.
Yeah.
Like what's going to happen? They were up. They were up 3-1 in that game Game 5 against the Nationals, playing well, and we don't need to get into that. I'm not doing that again.
But with that, I still think because of exactly what you just said, I still think bullpen is the main area that they could improve that will help them down the road. They got Blake Treinen already. Maybe they get one more, power arm. And
1 year deal.
Yeah, on a 1 year deal, and then that bullpen's starting to look pretty darn good.
Joe Kelly is a power arm.
Yeah.
Blake Treinen was a closer and was a damn good closer too. Mm-hmm. So if something's going on with Kenley, you have somebody that can slip right into that role. Exactly. So if you do go get another guy in a 1 year deal like a Dellin Betances, okay, sure, that's another power arm. So now you're pretty loaded back there. But both those guys are coming off bad years because they were injured.
Yeah.
All right, Nathan Avina says, what player would you sign, trade for, and why? I mean, I think it's...
Yeah, we've been talking. I mean, well, who would your first choice be of who's left?
Of who's left? I mean, I like Betts. I would go Betts and all of that because there's a blatant, obvious spot for him in the outfield.
Yeah.
So especially if you're trying to get rid of Pollock, which if they move AJ Pollock, which is I don't think would happen.
that would be
Freeman
working some of his magic.
But he's a guy that can play he can platoon in left field possibly with Verdugo and then you have Betts in right and Bellinger in center and you're great. Mm-hmm. So and that keeps Seager around, who I actually really like. And then you can keep Lux at second and everything, but you obviously have to move some of those contracts to make things work.
Right.
And you're gonna have to give them if you're going to take on the David Price contract, and this is all speculation, you're going to have to move contracts back. Mm-hmm. So like guys like Jock or Seager or somebody of that ilk, that's somebody that has a lot of money behind them, you're gonna have to move them too.
Yeah. And one guy we haven't mentioned who's still out there as a free agent is Josh Donaldson. I'm not sure what your I'm not saying they should. No, I'm not saying they should sign. I like him as a player, but I think with his age and the other interest that's out there, I think his price is going to get too high for the Dodgers. But I'm just saying that's an option.
Right.
Yeah.
Kevin G. Guerra says back-to-back World Series losses, can't do anything in free agency, and don't want to trade prospects to win it all. It's frustrating being a Dodgers fan. So that's interesting in itself. I just don't know. I mean, you can talk to that if you'd like.
I mean, yeah, it's definitely frustrating not winning the World Series. But as far as the trading away prospects thing, if they traded Bellinger for Brian Dozier 3 years ago, if they traded Seager for Cole Hamels, then maybe they're not in the position to make the World Series every year. So I think we need to let Friedman do what he's going to do, and then we'll judge him, at the end of the offseason, not in the middle of December when there's still so much time left.
Right. I mean, people wanted to trade Walker Buehler to Miami for JT Realmuto.
Yeah, exactly.
Walker Buehler is the ace of this team now. He is and he's proven it in the postseason too.
Yeah.
He's been nails in the postseason. Yeah. But with that goes fans. So let's talk about fans for just a second. And I got someone from someone on Twitter today, and his name was Renato Del Toro, and he said, "How you doing, Greg? Can you bring this up on the show today? That us as Dodger fans need to do what we did to McCourt to make a point and protest, not show up to the games to let them know we are not going to take this any longer. They need to go get the top tier free agents we need." How do you feel about that statement?
I think that would be the first ever protest for a 106 win team if that happened. I don't know if we need to go that far. I understand everyone's frustrated. We are too. We'd love to see them make some big moves. But I don't know if it's quite at the point where we need to protest.
No, we're not going to protest. We're not going to protest. But so I said to him, I was like, listen to Dodger Blue tonight, and you may not like what you hear because I'm not going to agree with that. First of all, it's insane. The fact of the matter is, yes, what happened in the postseason was brutal, and it was rough, and it's very, as a Dodger fan, you're upset and you're annoyed, and it's very heartbreaking to see what they've been doing in the postseason. But they're winning 7 divisions in a row. They went to back-to-back World Series and then Game 5 against the eventual World Series champions.
Yeah.
Like, that's one way to put it. But at the same time, like, this is a team that is in the mix every single year. They just got to put it together in the postseason. Yeah. And I just, none of this, they made a top 5 farm system, made a top 5 major league system. That just doesn't happen in baseball today. Yeah. You don't see that ever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and if you look at the team that won the World Series, the Nationals, they literally let their arguably their best player walk in free agency last winter. So, can you imagine how Dodger fans would be if like Bellinger was a free agent right now and they let him walk? So, yeah, they got Patrick Corbin, but it's not like they were going out and spending all this money and making all these big moves that led to them winning the World Series. It's just they just happened to get hot at the right time, and that's how it works.
So with everything that's going on, principal of NHS says Seager on the opening day roster.
I hope so.
I hope so too. I really like Seager.
Yeah, and I feel like trading him now is kind of like trading him when his value's at the lowest.
Right.
He's coming off. He was injured all of 2018. This past year was arguably his worst, full offensive season. So, I don't think it makes sense to trade him unless it's some mega deal where you're getting, Lindor and Clevenger. If they want Seager, then I would do that. But I've always been a big Seager fan, and I think, when he got going last year, he showed that he's still, the elite player that he was. So, and I think now with a healthy offseason, he'll get back to what he was, pre-injury.
Yeah. And then Anthony Davis, 215, says, Ryu, too much money, $100 million for a 33-year-old dude with injuries, issues. That's what we kind of talked about. Don't trade prospects, though. Just sign guys. Yeah, there's not really a lot of guys out there to go sign now that are going to be better than what you already have.
Yeah.
So I don't like... And then
but the Dodgers also they kind of have an excess of guys. So if they were to trade a few, it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world.
No, this is why when I was naming off a lot of those guys that are in the minor league system, they're blocked.
Yeah, exactly.
A lot of those guys are blocked, so it's kind of okay to move some of them. Like Keibert Ruiz is pretty much blocked, and because Will Smith, you're not going to have Ruiz and Smith back there because they both want to play every day. or at least 4 or 5 times a week. And that's just not going to happen with both of them out there. As great as it sounds to have a pairing of Ruiz and Smith back there, one of them's got to go.
Yeah, and if you could, you only need one starting catcher. So if you could get something for, if someone wants Ruiz in the package for a big deal, I don't think the Dodgers would hesitate as far as that one.
Yeah, Chris Shanka says, do you see May making the 5-man rotation?
I mean, if the season were to start today, then potentially yes. Yep. If they sign another starter, then I'd say probably not to start the season, but he would be probably the first guy to enter for an injury or whatever. We've seen it with the Dodgers so many times. They don't have any of their guys really throw 200 innings. They'll manipulate the DL or...
Which you're not going to be able to do anymore. It goes back to a 15
Yeah, it's 15,
day.
But I mean, if they have enough arms that they could still do it, they can.
Which they do.
But I definitely think we're going to see May in the rotation for a good portion of the season. I just don't know if it'll be right on opening day.
Right, you're going to move, and basically, because think about it, you have 3 guys that are basically the same guy.
Yeah.
Dustin May, Tony Gonsolin, and Josiah Gray, who is probably going to be up and down.
A year away.
He's a year away. Yeah, but I mean, if he
he finished at Double-A, so he might go up to Triple-A and maybe later in the season
find a way in. But they're basically 3 of the same guys. They're right-handed power arms.
Yeah.
So it's difficult to say what's going to happen with them, but you can kind of interchange them throughout the year to keep their innings down anyway.
Yeah.
So you can probably see all of them at some point. I mean, that's what this pitching staff kind of does, too, is you have the ability to make a great pitching staff that has like 8 guys.
Yeah.
So, I mean, obviously it's Buehler, Kershaw are 1 and 2. But then behind that, you have May and Gonsolin and Gray and Stripling and Maeda and Urias, who's going to be going into them.
Urias is going to be a starter this year. So, yeah, I'd say right now, for the opening day rotation, we could pencil in Kershaw, Buehler, Urias, and Maeda.
Yep.
So that leaves 1 spot left for May, Gonsolin. They'll probably have Stripling in the bullpen. Yep. So we'll see. They might add another pitcher. So we'll just see what happens. And they'll probably have all those guys go out and throw in spring training, and whoever looks the best will get that 5th spot.
Absolutely. Romero Alex says, do you think right now, even if we resign Rue, we are a better team than we were last year? It's interesting.
Well, I mean, if they re-sign Rue, it's pretty much the same team, except they're all young guys who are going to be a year better. So,
right.
And they added Blake Trinan. If he gets back to what he was, then that's a great arm for the pen. So,
and Blake Trinan says he is. I mean, you can say whatever you want in the offseason, but
we'll see it.
He says he's ready to go. He says he's great. He says he's going to play. They didn't. He's not broken, is the way he put it. So, yeah, it'd be great to see him. 106 win team in a weak division, Gus Chavo Garcia.
I mean, we saw them beat plenty of teams outside of their division.
Exactly. They won season series against Milwaukee and the Nationals and other teams.
Pretty much everyone they played, honestly.
And especially at the beginning of the season, too. It happened early on, and they just coasted the rest of the way. Which, of course, if they were playing at full capacity the entire year, 106 was going to be destroyed.
Yeah, we saw how they kind of took their foot off the gas pedal, so...
Ben Dutuerte says they need another top starting pitcher. I think this is the kind of the thing that we're going to see here. They need.
Yeah, they don't need anything, but yes, obviously adding another top starter would be lovely.
All right, so if there's one thing they need, and I don't want you to go into bullpens. I'm going to take bullpen out of it because it's stupid. Not you. Just in saying I hate talking about bullpen. It drives me insane. What is the one, if you could just go pick one thing, doesn't matter, you don't have to pick a name if you don't want to, but one position, one spot that would completely make this team just so much better going into next year?
I would say the right-handed middle of the order bat, in my opinion. I'd take that over a starter just because of all the young arms they have. I think they could get by.
So many young arms.
And if you're I'd rather give money to a position player than a starter just because we saw... Obviously, Garrett Cole signed for a lot of money, and it looks great now, but we'll see how that contract's looking down the road.
Yeah, he signed 9 years. He's 29 years old. He's going to be
38, making $35 million.
So, I mean, that's an interesting thing, too. Is like, so when you sign somebody to a 9-year deal, right? You have a 9-year deal. How many of those years do you need to pitch very, very well to make it worth it? Because you're not going to get all 9 years. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah, I think if you get 5-6 really good years, then
It's worth
I think that's worth it. And
There's no opt-outs. There's no trade.
There's no opt-outs. He's got a full no trade clause. So
he's stuck.
Yeah.
I got Shane Smith saying Urias was once that prospect that everyone wanted. His time is now. I'm excited to see him in the rotation. Yeah, I am too.
I am too.
They've already said that he is going to be in the rotation, so that's what's going to be. Fight On My Brother says, does Lux have the potential to be as good as Lindor?
He has the potential, but who knows if he'll get... I mean, Lindor is arguably a top 5 player in baseball.
Right.
But, I mean, Lindor is a top 5 prospect in baseball. So, in theory, those guys are the guys that are supposed to get to that level. But who knows if it'll happen or not.
Right, yeah. So, I mean, everybody has... Not everybody. A lot of guys have the potential. They just need to put it all together. And how he looked in AA and AAA. And,
yeah, I mean, he had a great year. And the fact that anytime the Dodgers are in trade talks... his name comes up, that this team won't do a deal unless Lux is involved, just shows how he's valued throughout the league.
Yep. SP Salas says it's time to give up some prospects. Most of these prospects are being platooned anyways. It's true, but that's just kind of how the game is working for the Dodgers right now.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the Dodgers only platoon when they have to. Like, if they have a guy who hits both lefties and righties, then they're not platooning that guy.
Right. I mean, Max Muncy played basically every single day. So did Seager, so did Bellinger.
Exactly.
So, these were guys that were consistently out there.
Other than Jock and then Lux at the end of the season just because he was a rookie.
Right.
They didn't really do much platooning this past year compared to the year before.
Also, is it time for the starters to be left in the game longer? From SP Salas as well.
I mean, are you referring to the playoffs or the regular season? Because I don't think that needs to be the case in the regular season. Because, I mean, as long as the division is the Dodgers, there's no reason to wear your guys out in the regular season.
No, they're going to destroy this division.
And I feel like this past postseason, as far as when to leave in the starters and when to take them out, I think that wasn't what Dave Roberts struggled with. It was just which arms to bring out of the bullpen.
Which ones to come in. He made.
But I mean, he left
decisions.
Walker Buehler in that game 5 to face a couple batters in the 7th inning when he was at like 115 pitches or whatever. So yeah.
I mean, so and especially in the playoffs, you're in such a damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Yeah,
because
exactly.
Let's say Walker Buehler does get out of it. Then, what a genius move to leave Walker Buehler. Let's say he doesn't get out of it.
Yeah.
What are you doing? Not leaving, taking out. You had
it's at
this
120
guy.
pitches.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, it's no matter what you do in those situations, you're going to be called out for being wrong. There's going to be plenty of people that are going to say, this was wrong, that was wrong. So it's very difficult. Here's the thing about a manager, and this is kind of like we can get into a manager discussion in a little bit, but for the most part, manager wins and loses you combined 10 games in the regular season. Probably 10 games.
Right.
So you can't say anything. But in the playoffs, those 10 games are very important.
That's when it's amplified.
Right.
For sure.
So that's why this is kind of my last year with Dave Roberts. If he doesn't win,
at this point, if he makes another crucial mistake as he did this year, then I'd say might be time to move on.
I can't hear him say for another year, I used my gut and it was wrong.
Yeah, and it's pretty funny how everyone kind of trashes analytics and how the Dodgers rely on it too much, and then it turns out the worst mistake in the postseason was him going against the analytics.
Right. So. I mean, there was certain things that could be done. That was a whole difficult situation, but either way. James Radicic says, I hope I said that right. I think that was pretty close. James Radicic. Trade Jeter Downs and Gonsolin to the Cubs for Bryant.
I mean, if they'll do that.
Then you would do it in a heartbeat. I just think that, look, Jeter Downs is a great prospect. Tony Gonsolin has already shown that he can do it in the regular season. But I think that we were talking about this before, too. Like, we're already taking Chris Bryant and kind of pushing him off to the side and saying, he's not worth much. 27 years old, 108 RBIs, 31 home runs. Forget it. He's got like a 900 OPS.
Yeah.
The guy is still being productive.
Yeah, he's a really good player.
To say that he's not worth anything anymore and just two random guys, not random, they're both two good numbers, guys.
Yeah, at the end of the day, he's, maybe the face of the Cubs franchise. He's been a big part of their turnaround, them winning that World Series, so it's not like they're just going to give him up. They're going to want, a top guy or two, and I don't know if Downs and Gonsolin is enough.
Right. No.
If it is, make the deal, though.
Yeah, you make it. Look, if we're being GMs, then I'll give you our last prospect for the number 100 prospect for Chris Bryant, because I'm the GM and I can do that. And this is funny money. Matthew Diano says, would love to add a big right-handed bat in the middle of the lineup. need that clutch hitter. I think that's what you're talking about.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was
I think
talking
we are so lefty heavy.
Yeah.
And to have that big, that's honestly why I thought that Rendon would have been the absolute perfect Dodger player to be right there. I get it that he's in Anaheim now, and I'm going to just let it go, but I just want to. That's just why I thought he fits so well. Patient at the plate, gets big hits in the playoffs, does everything that you kind of need him to do. It was a great pickup. Let's see. Romero Alex. Thing with Bryant is he also plays multiple positions, which suits our style of moving guys around.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah.
Like it's nice when you can have that positionality. That's what makes this. I
think Bryant would be a really good fit. I just don't know if the Cubs are going to want to trade him to the Dodgers.
Right. Do the Cubs want to trade him to the Dodgers? Does Scott Boras want to send him to the Dodgers?
Yeah.
Because he is a Boras client, and we've already seen Boras clients just going separate ways. God, he made so much money in this offseason.
What, he signed like $800 million worth of contracts in 3 days for 3 guys? It's ridiculous.
I mean, if you see him somewhere, he's buying. That's absolute truth. Some Kind of Wonder says, who by the way has really good music. Go find Some Kind of Wonderful. I actually listen to it all the time when I'm driving on Spotify. Some Kind of Wonderful. It's really good. No joke. I like this. He just randomly sent it to me on a DM one day, and I was like, I'll take a listen to it. I was like, this is good. So go listen to Some Kind of Wonderful on there. But he says, where do you think Puig will end up?
I don't know.
Not in LA.
Not on the Dodgers. I'd kind of like to see him in Miami back with Mattingly just for entertainment purposes.
Right.
I don't know where he's going to end up, but I'll watch him wherever he is.
Yeah, I mean, he's fun to watch, and that's who he is. This is a good name that I know the Dodgers have actually been. They wanted him last year, and I think the year before as well. Nick Castellanos. To the Dodgers.
I was just talking to some guys about this. I'm a little surprised we haven't heard Dodgers interested in Castellanos, just because I feel like the last 3 off seasons that's what we heard. But I don't know if they're looking to acquire the top end talent. Like, I know he had a great end to the last year after getting traded with the Cubs, but I don't know if they do sign Castellanos, what is he bat? 7th for the Dodgers? I don't know if they're looking to acquire that type of guy. And he's probably going to get paid a decent amount of money, so I doubt the Dodgers, give him what he's looking for.
Yeah, I can't imagine that. How about this one, Shane Smith? Although a rival, Puig to Arizona with Mad Bum.
That's another one I'd like to see for entertainment purposes. So, although I don't know if I'd.
God, that would be so entertaining.
Yeah.
So here's one thing about Mad Bum. Obviously signed for $85 million with the Arizona Diamondbacks. Which with I think $15 million deferred or whatever it was, so he's not going to get it till after it's all done. Mm-hmm. But he said that it would have been $100 million to play in California again
because of the taxes.
Because of the taxes.
Whatever, yeah.
So here's the thing with the taxes, and this is something that I've learned from John Ireland over the years, because he has to go to different cities all the time as the Lakers announcer, is that you pay taxes in every single city that you're in.
Okay.
You don't just because you live in Arizona,
right? That
doesn't matter. You're playing in different cities, so you still have to pay taxes in all of those. You pay if you play in, what is it? I don't even know how many states it is. Say it's
30 or what?
20, 25, states, 30, whatever, 30 states. How many over states you play in? That's if you play in that many states, you're paying taxes for every single one of those states. So you still kind of have to pay that. That you're playing in LA over and over and over. You play in San Francisco, you play in San Diego. You have 3 different teams that you play 18, 19 times a year.
Right.
Not obviously all in California, but a lot of games in California. If you happen to play the Angels that year or the A's, you're in California.
Right.
So all of this money that he's saving by being a resident of Arizona doesn't change anything.
Yeah. Hey.
It changed a little bit, but still.
More power to him, though, going from, the pitcher-friendly San Francisco to Chase Field.
God, if he wanted to go get something out of the ocean, that's where he's going to go
get
in
it out
pool.
of the pool now.
Yeah, go get it out of the pool now. Because although Max Muncy apparently, which I think it was, I don't remember who it was. It might have been Choice Fielder, who is actually in here right now. But somebody put up an actual graphic of where Max Muncy. Oh no, it was future Dodgers.
Yeah,
it was future Dodgers. Yeah, that where he actually hits balls, and it's not into that area for the most part. Right center field.
I'm definitely every time he's at the plate, Mad Bum's on the mound. I'm gonna be hoping that it goes in that pool because that would just be awesome.
And then he starts talking to him. He's like, "Go get it out of the pool." It would be fantastic. Let's see. I got Choice Fielder saying Dustin May started in Double-A in 19. Maybe we'll see Downs called up next season.
It's possible.
It's very possible. I mean, that's also another middle infielder that they would have to. So something would have to happen where either Lux or Muncy, even, especially if you end up moving JT over to first base. So, what do you think of that move for JT? Just overall, let's say nothing happens. They don't get a third baseman, but you take JT and you move him over to first base, and you move Muncy over to second. You move Seager to third, and have Lux at short.
That's interesting. I mean, I don't know if it's necessary to do all that shuffling. Like, Turner wasn't as good at third base as he had been in previous years, this past years, but I don't think he's all of a sudden not capable of playing the position. Like, I think for the most part he could be an average defender there. But, I mean, whatever they decide to do as far as the positioning, I trust them because they see their guys every day, watch them take infield. So, whatever they think, I trust them. And the way they shift anyways, it's not as important.
Right.
Like, I feel like Justin Turner's at second base half the time.
Yeah, he really is.
So,
and also, I mean, I like the idea of him moving to first base anyway because it'll prolong his career.
Yeah, and I think the same for Seager at third base. I think we've been saying since he was a prospect, eventually he's going to make that move. He's
tall,
big. He's 6'4". He's one of the biggest shortstops out there. So I think,
but he was fine defensively.
Yeah, he's fine. But I think for injury purposes, it could make sense to eventually move him to third. I don't know if it'll be this year, but we'll see.
Right, but I mean, imagine. If you can do all those things, you can kind of keep what you have there.
Yeah.
That also has to mean that Lux is going to just explode, which you're hoping happens. You're hoping Seager gets back, and let's be honest with Seager, he had 2 surgeries going into last year and had a couple setbacks during the year, which were not the same things, but still was a little bit of injury. Had a couple of injuries. And so if he's completely healthy next year and everybody and Verdugo's back and all these young guys are all here, they're ready. Now you have the team that you kind of have always wanted.
Right.
So yes, they could, in that sense, they could use another arm, but they have so many arms to use. So, and I saw somebody talking about Dallas Keuchel, Toby Rohrer. It's making my throat hurt. I know love for a proven winner that eats innings like Dallas Keuchel to LA.
I've never thought Dallas Keuchel is that good.
No,
he had that one Cy Young year, and then the year they won the World Series, the Dodgers hit him hard both times in the World Series. He got hit pretty hard when pitching for Atlanta in the postseason against the Cardinals this past year. So, what's he, the 4th starter on the Dodgers? Like, I don't think they're gonna pay what it takes to get Keuchel when the Angels are desperate. You know, there's other teams out there that really need starting pitching.
Very desperate teams that are, they're going to put him on there. So, Hector Padilla says, Dodgers and Reds love to trade with each other. What about Luis Castillo?
I mean, he's coming off a great year. He's a great pitcher.
Great year.
But I feel like the Reds are now at the point where they're kind of ready to compete. They've made some additions this offseason, so I don't think they're looking to trade their young ace that they could control for 5 more years at an affordable cost.
Who is the guy that was coming out of the bullpen righty? It was a lefty reliever that took on an entire team.
Amir Garrett.
See, that's the type of guy that I'm looking for. But he's under control. Would have been a fantastic, but he's another guy that's going to stay there in Cincinnati. But man, that was great. He went after an entire team by himself. Yeah. That was great. All right, so you can't involve Lux and May from Taylor Spencer. Yeah, we kind of create havoc on the. Rather have Lindor. Romero, Alex says, what do you think of our biggest threat in LA? Nats lost Rendon, Brewers lost 11 players, and Cubs a mess. So, I mean...
yeah, I think... Well, we got to see if the Nats are done, because right now they're still going to have a really good team. The Braves are still going to be really good. I think... I don't know. The Brewers might take a step back. They've lost a bunch of guys from their team last year. Cubs might also take a step back. Cardinals will probably be what they were last year, a good team, but
like kind of right on the cusp. But they're going to lose players. They're going to lose the guy that my mind is blanking. He came from Miami, went to St. Louis, and had a pretty
Ozuna.
Oh yeah, Marcel Ozuna. They're going to lose him too, and that was a big part of their offense.
Yeah, and I'd say offense is their biggest issue, and taking out their cleanup hitter is probably not going to
help out so much. All right, I think we just got enough time for about one or two more questions, and then we're gonna cut it out here, and we'll do it all over again next Monday.
Yeah.
But let's see, T Scum, which I hope I didn't say anything dirty there. Correct. We have no true leadoff hitter, but Wood with Lindor. Yeah, it's true. But I mean, like Verdugo played. Yeah, and he was fine.
And I don't think leadoff hitters are the same as they used to be. If you look at most good teams, they have a guy who's hitting 30, 35 home runs and not stealing many bases leading off. So I don't know if that's as important, but yeah, if you could add Lindor and put him at the top of the lineup, that'd be perfect.
Obviously, that's a huge thing. Yeah, speed is just not. I mean, as great as it is, it's just not used as much as it kind of used to be. It's not back in the old days when you would when you bunt on the first, then bunt over to or steal second, bunt over to third, and then a sac fly gets you home. Like that's and win 1-0. That doesn't happen anymore. That's old school baseball. That just isn't how it is anymore. But we're starting to see the Dodgers are a little bit of a different team anyway in that sense. So let's be Frank Pod. What's up, Frank? Says let's just get on base. I mean, to be honest though, on base percentage is a huge stat now. Yeah. And that's what you look at more. That's why batting average, if you have a 212 batting average, but your on base percentage is like 350, you're like, okay, you're a pretty good player.
Yeah, I mean, theoretically, if no one's on base, a walk and a single are the same thing. So.
Right. So if you can get on base, that's why you always look, and I looked at the Dodgers lineup all throughout the entire year last year. What was their on base percentage? And for a long time, everyone was like 320 and above.
Yeah.
And that's why I was like, oh, God, this team is just so good. Everything they do is right. That number started to fall a little bit, but still, that's what it is. All right, I think that's going to do it for us. You good?
Yeah.
Yep, I'm good. All right, thank you very much for being on the Blue Review for Dodger Blue, at Dodger Blue 1958, at Bergman Greg, at D Starkhand, and go to DodgerBlue.com to get all the best Dodgers news. It is the #1 most read fan site on the internet, so go check it out, DodgerBlue.com. Ton of stuff there. Thank you guys very, very much for being with us again, and I'll be back on Monday. It's either going to be with Daniel or it's going to be with Matt.
Yeah.
I don't know who it's going to be. I find out the day of, but they're both great, so I'm happy with whoever it happens to be. Maybe one time it'll be all three of us.
Ooh.
Oh,
not a bad idea.
Let's do it. All right, thank you again for being with the Blue Review. I appreciate it, and we'll see you next week.
All right, thanks a lot.